It's a very tough weekend. It's a very tough weekend. I understand what's going on right now. New York stood up, but the Knicks didn't. But the Knicks didn't.
Oh, got you.
But it ain't over yet, Max.
Okay, hang on.
It's not over yet.
For dear life.
I ain't going out like that. We not going out like that.
Okay.
Okay? All right? Stop laughing at me, man. Stop laughing. Roller open.
Met with coach before the game, told me he was going to sit me. I told him, hell nah.
Ball looking, ball driving, falling away. It's good. He looks like the old Chris Paul. Davis, he's grabbing his right leg.
One of the best players in the world, and you have to adjust. Your shoulders was built for a reason. It takes for me to put some more on top of it, and so be it.
To have them out there sort of guarding you, knowing you somewhat less than, it was good. Good feeling to just be out there and compete.
Good morning. Appreciate you spending part of your Memorial Day here with us on First Take. Thank you to all the fallen soldiers who gave their lives to help protect the greatest country in the world, the ultimate sacrifice, and we are forever grateful. I'm Molly Karam Rose. That is Max Kellerman. That is Stephen A. Smith.
Yo, yo.
The jacket is fly. We need to shout out Chicago Playground. Ask and you shall receive when you are Stephen A. Smith. I also got one. I cannot wait. And I want to mention, we're going to be traveling again, First Take. Very excited about that. That's one of my favorite parts about this job is getting to see the fans. And we're going to be going to a bunch of HBCUs as well. So we're really looking forward to it. And now I got a fresh fit. I can stay warm. That's right. So it'll be good.
As you know, me, I'm a graduate of Winston-Salem State University at HBCU. Very, very proud. More proud of them than I am of other people right now.
Okay.
And them damn Knicks. But that's all right. That's all right. I'm not going to be distracted. But Chicago Playground, shout out to them. Thank you for that. This is a beautiful, beautiful jacket.
For sure.
I asked and I have
love
received.
It.
They took care of me.
The color blocking all fresh.
And thanks to Donovan Mitchell for wearing it. I saw that because Donovan Mitchell was wearing it, and then CP3 connected me with the people, Chicago Playground that did this.
CP3 with the assist.
Made it happen. All right, speaking of CP3, let's go to some playoff basketball, guys. The Suns and Lakers all knotted up 2 games apiece. Injuries dictating much of the series. First it was CP3, now it's Anthony Davis. Davis missed the second half of Game 4 versus the Suns with a groin strain in their 192 loss to Phoenix. AD came into the game playing on a sprained left knee that he suffered in Game 3, landing awkwardly after executing a chase-down block on Devin Booker. Davis will be day-to-day on a return, according to Woj. Here's LeBron.
Well, I mean, it's next man up. And obviously, if he's not ready for Game 5, it's going to be a tough blow for our ball club. But, next man up. And we've been like that all year. And, we're going to have to be like that in the hostile environment in Game 5. These shoulders was built for a reason. And, if it takes for me to put some more on top of it, then so be it. Win, lose, or draw. I'm ready for the challenge.
Sometimes numbers are misleading. Pay attention to this. So LA's 11-7 record in games with LeBron James without Anthony Davis, not really telling the full story. The Lakers were 1-6 in those games against this year's playoff teams, which includes a loss against this Suns team. Comparatively, they went 10-1 against teams that didn't make the playoffs. Stephen A., that's for you. I know you care about resumes, so we'll put that in for you, sir. So tell me this. Who is winning this series now?
Me personally, with Anthony Davis hobbling, I believe it's going to be the Phoenix Suns.
Wow.
And, obviously I would not pick the Phoenix Suns to win the series. I have the Lakers winning this series in 7 games. But that was assuming that Anthony Davis and LeBron James were playing. With Anthony Davis and that groin injury, obviously that's a very sensitive and very tender issue. And as a result of that, I don't know who's expecting him to be back. And meanwhile, CP3 is literally making plays, making signature shots, and then looking into the cameras and saying, I'm back. You understand? And then I'm looking at these young thoroughbreds, and I love the way Cameron Payne has been filling in for CP3. He's been very impressive. We know Devin Booker is a star in this league and how big time he is. Certainly they're not lacking the coaching. And I can't say enough about DeAndre Ayton because he's a big boy who's playing big. He's a dude that's walking around and he's giving you 20 and 10 a night. Last night, I believe he had, 17 rebounds, if I remember correctly. So I'm looking at it from that perspective, and I'm saying to myself, this stuff is no joke right here. I'm looking at them, and I'm saying the Los Angeles Lakers are in a world of trouble because Phoenix is younger, they're fresher, they can run more, and in order for the Lakers to win, you got to put the ball in LeBron James' hands and dictate pace. And you're going to have people that can finish. And without Anthony Davis, he doesn't have a reliable, dependable weapon to finish for him while he's trying to control pace. It's a problem. I'm going to tell you right now, unless Anthony Davis gets healthy, the Los Angeles Lakers and LeBron James specifically will be going home in the first round.
Kuzma botched the play at the rim. I was like, come on, man.
Yeah.
But let me say this. When the series began, I thought Lakers in 7.
Mm-hmm.
Then CP3 got hurt. I said, oh, okay, Lakers in 6, maybe 5. Mm-hmm. Now AD gets hurt. I'm back to Lakers at 7. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
CP3 came back.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's showing the heart of a champion.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's AD's turn. Even if AD has to be held out a game because a groin, a hamstring, that's the kind of injury only rest is going to make better. It's otherwise going to get exacerbated. And by the way, even the way he came down, I was reminded of Sam Jackson. They called me Mr. Glass, right, from that Shyamalan movie, because Unbreakable, because it's like he didn't even look like, how did he even hurt himself there? But that groins, hamstrings are like that. So let's say he has to sit out the next game to give him a nice long break but he can get back to game 6 as some semblance of himself. Stephen A, he doesn't have to be 100%. I'm saying the Lakers are going to take that game 6. They're not going out that way. It's going to come down to a game 7. If AD can go in game 6, it'll come down to a game 7. Give me LeBron in game 7. Give me the LeBron team in game 7. Assuming AD can play, give me the team with LeBron James in game 7. He has consistently come through since that Dallas series way back when in Miami. He's consistently come through when the odds are stacked against him. Chris Paul has been to 1 conference finals. Not his fault. He got hurt game 7, or else I think they would have gone to a finals. But he does not have, you could say it's because he's short. Right, sure. If he was 7 feet tall, it'd be different, but he's not. He's 6 feet tall. Give me LeBron James in game 7. I say the Lakers still take this. It goes the distance.
Listen, I don't believe that. I just look at the Phoenix team. They've got perimeter shooters. They've got athletes. They've got defenders. They've got active young bodies. They have depth. I look at all of these things, and again, now it comes down to certain components. Do you have floor generalship? The CP3? Yes, you do. Do you have a star that can deliver the goods from the perimeter? In Devin Booker? Yes, you do. Do you have a big man that is better than average, that can go out and give you 20 and 10 a night and make his presence felt? Whether it's scoring, it's rebounding, it's a nice combination of both. Do you have that? Yes. And do you have coaching? Yes. And do you have depth? Yes. They're not missing anything against these Lakers. And that's what I'm saying. The greatness of Anthony Davis is what's required to pull out this series. I'm looking at LeBron James, 18th year in the league, 36 years of age, 25, 12, and 6. Nothing to sneeze at. Monster jam on the fast break. We get all of that. But when he can't defend everybody and he can't make shots for everybody else around him, he can facilitate a lot of things. But in terms of finishing, he needs help against a team like this.
Anthony Davis is supposed too, by the way.
That's right. I'm glad you brought that up because certainly Kentavious Caldwell-Pope not being out yesterday was a very big deal because he's your perimeter shooter. He's your primary perimeter threat. I get all of that. I'm just saying this Phoenix Suns team we've been watching all year that has proven to us they are no fluke. They've proven to us you need your weapons in order to.
Everything you're saying is true. I'm not disputing that, but it was true before AD got hurt too. And except for the finishing stuff, and AD was not having a big game, but his presence on the floor, Lakers are going to win that game. They felt to me like they were in control. They felt to me like they were in control of the game. They had a little lead. When AD went out, it's when the Suns took off and never looked back. So I'm saying you bring AD back, and I'm glad you brought up Ayton. Because one of the reasons I didn't like the Suns even more than I did, and I liked them a lot before the season started, was Ayton's the question mark. He's ironically the number 1 overall pick, who was already pretty good, and CP3 was supposed to make better, and he did, was the big question mark. Because we know what we're getting from the backcourt, from the forwards. It could come down to Ayton's play in Game 7, but I don't think he's ready. LeBron and these guys are ready.
But it wasn't a question mark because of what he was lacking. It was a question mark because we know that when Anthony Davis showcases his greatness, few people on the planet can match that. So what does he do? He comes out in Game 1, and he wet the bed. He didn't get it done. He owns it. And then over the next 2 games, he's an absolute monster. Because it's like, wait a minute, y'all must have forgot who the hell I am. Yeah. This is what I got to bring to the table. Okay, DeAndre Ayton, you woke me up. So what I'm saying is, it wasn't just that Anthony Davis was there. He was great in games 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Well, if he misses game
34 points in games 2 and 3.
That's right. So
13
if he misses game 5, they'll have the better part of a week before he plays again.
I'm just telling you that he can't be a guy that just shows up. That's not enough against this team.
Would they have won game 4 if AD didn't go out of the game? Because he was not having, he passed 6, 8 points, something like that.
I believe they would have. But what I'm saying to you is, all I'm trying to say is the greatness of Anthony Davis is required to win this series. Not just Anthony Davis, the greatness of Anthony
Suns
Davis.
in 7, right?
Right now, yeah.
Lakers in 7.
At the end of the day, it was about the old guys. This was the first time in NBA history 2 players older than 35 led their teams in points and assists. AJ, nothing but a number. We'll keep it moving, guys. Let's get to another hot button NBA players. We had another concerning incident, this time in Boston, and the ire was directed at Kyrie Irving. A Celtic fan was arrested after allegedly throwing a water bottle at the former Celtic. The bottle missed Irving, who was walking towards the tunnel following the Nets' 141-126 win on Sunday night. Kyrie, talk to me.
It's unfortunate, that sports has come to a lot of this, kind of crossroads where you're seeing a lot of old ways come up. It's been part of that. It's been that way in history in terms of entertainment, performers, and sports for a long period of time of just underlying racism and just treating people like they're in a human zoo. Throwing stuff at people, saying things. There's a certain point where it just gets to be too much. So, I called it out. I just wanted to keep it strictly basketball, and then you just see that people just feel very entitled out here. They pay for the tickets, great. I'm grateful that they're coming in to watch a great performance, but it's just, we're not at the theater. We're not throwing tomatoes and other random stuff at the people that are performing. It's too much.
I mean, fans got to grow up at some point. I know that being in the house for a year and a half with the pandemic got a lot of people on edge, got a lot of people stressed out. But when you come to these games, you got to realize, man, these men are human. We not animals. We not in a circus. Grow the up and enjoy the game. It's bigger than you.
I think that was so well said by KD there. I just want to remind you guys, this is the second time a fan has thrown something at a player while they were leaving the court this postseason. We saw a Sixers fan banned from Wells Fargo Center after dumping popcorn on Russell Westbrook while he walked off the court during Game 2 of the Wizards' first-round series against Philly. Stephen A., how does the league handle this? How do we as the media handle this moving forward?
Well, first of all, I love the fact that the kid was arrested. Mm-hmm. I hope he's still in jail. I don't know if they took him to jail, but if they did it, they should have. And if he was taken, he should still be there. That's number one. Number two, I love the fact that we all saw him on camera. I think that shame and humiliation is an important deterrent because a lot of times people are emboldened because they get to hide. And when you show that everything's going to be brought to light, then that serves as a potential deterrent. Number three, in the interest of fairness, I also think that's important because we all know that the players, the athletes themselves, they would be in this position. They would be put front and center and their faces would be treated like mugshots if they were to engage in any kind of insidious behavior. And so I love that. But the NBA, as I said last week, everybody needs to be on alert. Now, the racism and all of that stuff that Kyrie alluded to. I also want to point out there's a whole bunch of people in that crowd that pointed out the kid who threw that bottle. Okay? So I think that's incredibly important to point out. That it wasn't people turning a blind eye and a deaf ear. They were like, oh no, that was him. And everybody pointed that kid out. And it was a beautiful thing that they did that because that's incredibly important, particularly with Boston and its history to some degree, which is what Kyrie Irving alluded to. Having said all of that, let's take this a step further because as I said last week, Max, it's not just about the fact that George Floyd was murdered by Derek Chauvin, the cop in Minneapolis, and then there was social justice issues and protests and initiatives that were taking place. You had a whole bunch of people that were stuck home, like Kevin Durant alluded to. And they've been waiting to get at these players. They've been waiting to get at them. I don't believe they came to the court, even though Kyrie, you could say it was classless or whatever. He stepped on the leprechaun at midcourt and all of this other stuff. I don't believe for 1 second that things like that prompt somebody to do the kind of stuff that we saw.
Here's that
last
incident
night.
You just alluded
That's
to where
right.
he's stepping on the leprechaun.
I don't believe that's what did it. I believe you've got folks who come to these games and they have an agenda. They know exactly what they want to do ahead of time. I really, really do, particularly with these players. Now, at some point in time, white America is going to have to wake up and stop trying to act like racism is a thing of the past. It's not. It's present. And in my estimation, the reason why I'm able to be cool and calm about it is because I'm not apologizing for saying this. I know there's a bunch of racists out there. I know they've been out there. I know they are out there. And I know they're going to be out there. I don't give a damn what y'all say at all. I'm not saying everybody. I'm not saying most.
Of course
But
not.
there are a lot of folks out there who happen to be white that really, really, really have a problem with black people, particularly black athletes, being in those positions. And anytime they get an opportunity to express their venom and vitriol and hostility, they're going to take it. It doesn't surprise me. I'm not shocked. Of course, it's disappointing, but it is what it is. Trae Young gets spit on. Ja Morant's family, okay? Of course, you got Kyrie Irving, all right? These are the kind of things that we're talking about here. White men coming at black men, and in a secure, insulated environment where you don't have to worry about direct retaliation, and Russell Westbrook, of course, because you know they're going to be restrained. That's what's going on. We understand it. Don't be surprised by it. It's incredibly disappointing. The leagues, the media, and everybody else is just going to have to stand up and say, we know who the hell you are. We know what you are. We're not surprised by it. You'll be dealt with. That's what you do.
I'm not convinced that maybe Kyrie doing that on the on the logo maybe did inflame things more. It's obviously not an excuse to throw something at a player. Leave the guy who's wearing a Garnett jersey, right? Like
yes, it was.
Garnett was a dude who gave everything to the organization, the whole Celtic pride thing and everything. And Kyrie, maybe they felt like, no, he didn't. He said he wasn't going to leave. Then he bounced, and then he comes back and disrespects the logo. That is not an excuse. But did that precipitate it? Did they have it? Was it premeditated? I don't know. I have no way of knowing that. I do know this, Stephen A. To me, this is something new. You could say, well, it's like a continuation, but to me, it's something new. I'll tell you why. Because everyone saw it led TV shows. We talked about it on this show a lot. What happened when a fan spat, when a fan threw popcorn? What happened? Indefinite ban. Mm-hmm. And people can say, well, it's not a lifetime ban. What's the difference? A lifetime ban can be lifted. Yeah. This is like an indefinite ban. Like, you ain't coming, like, until further notice, you're out of here. And the fans saw that and did it anyway. That bothers me. Because to me, that is something new. It's like, consequences be damned. Why? He doesn't want to get caught. But if I do get caught, whatever. This is worth it. I think what KD said was so excellent. And it's not even what we showed. Here's the quote. Have some respect for the human beings. He said, we're not in a circus. And have some respect for yourself. Your mother wouldn't be proud of you throwing water bottles at basketball players or spitting on players or tossing popcorn. So grow the expletive up and enjoy the game. It's bigger than you. But have some respect for yourself. I always say, we talk about this sometimes, Stephen A. You're like, well, you can't say that. It's not a good reflection on the people who raised you when you behave that way. Mm-hmm. It's a bad reflection. And I'm torn about showing people, because I don't like shame generally used to teach behavior. But on the one hand, if you show them, it is disgraceful. On the other, maybe some people think they get some clout from doing that. Like in baseball games, remember once upon a time, guys would jump out on the field and do all kinds of wild stuff, and the cameras always show them like a sideshow. And after a while, they realized this encourages copycat behavior. So what they start doing? They wouldn't show it.
Mm-hmm. And that's what Kenny Smith brought up on TNT, and they had a really interesting conversation because Shaq and Charles were like, fans have always been this way. And Kenny said, I think it's very concerning potentially showing their faces because, Max, what you're alluding to, We see this with mega crimes where people are seeking attention and they're seeking fame. So it's really a double-edged sword because, yes, they should be shown. Because if it was a player who threw something, it'd be all over, posted over everything. But it is concerning if we're going to get more of these acts because people are looking for attention.
People are looking for attention when they're not concerned about the repercussions and ramifications.
Absolutely.
So if all I have to do is get cuffed and then I have to leave the arena, all right, you might ban me from the arena and I might not give a damn about going to a Celtics game. But if I got a $5,000 to $10,000 fine that I'm going to have to pay, if not more, and I'm going to do some time, and everybody in the area is going to know who I am, if not the country, and I'm shamed in that regard, certainly that can be a deterrent. And this is the thing that we also have to pay attention to. And I'm not getting political here, but damn it, I'm going to say it. This First Take. You know what time it is. We've made so many things partisan. You know, there was a riot that took place at the U.S. Capitol this past January 6th. Yeah. And there is I know people have been arrested, and I know people are expected to pay a stiff penalty. But they're few and far between compared to the inordinate amount of folks that showed up in the nation's capital and threatened the lives of elected officials. And what kind of price are you paying? The bottom line is, if you don't show the world that there's a price that you have to pay for such egregious behavior,
that's right,
you're going to serve as an enabler and basically encouraging other people to get away with that.
That's right, and that was partisan. One party were insurrectionists, and now we're blocking, an investigation into it. But that is partisan. This is not partisan, and it's not the NBA either. This is, like legal ramifications. That's for the law, and that's what I mean when I say when you enter an arena, you don't exit the United States of America. You don't exit the state you're in. It's not an embassy. You're not subject to different laws. The NBA can only do so much. They can ban you from the arena. They can have you removed, ban you from the arena. What else can they do? At the next step is you're subject to legal prosecution. And they should be. That's right. I'm just saying that's not on the NBA. That's on law enforcement. And if Trae Young doesn't press charges, what are you going to do?
It's also on the media, because when you talk about how you're not into shaming, my rhetorical question would be, why the hell not? Because the fact of the matter is, anything that could potentially serve as a deterrent is something that should be entertained.
But then there's also those copycat crimes, and I don't want to get really heavy and really deep, but where things can go with that, with different...
Even a fine, if they have the money for great tickets, they might feel like
depends on how you deal with people.
They're clout chasing by paying the fine.
We're not done with this conversation. We got more playoffs to get to. We'll revisit this in the second hour, though, because I've got more to talk to you about. Don't call it a comeback. The LA Clippers even the series with the Mavs in Dallas. Kawhi Leonard looking like Kawhi Leonard again, putting up 29, 10, and 3. Paul George did his thing too, 29 and 3. PG on his PIC.
I think we both, just have done a great job just complimenting each other. He's been all out driving, attacking, putting pressure on. They're bigs at the rim, and myself as well. When he needs a break, he needs a breather. Now I'm in attack mode, and I'm trying to give him a break. So I think we're just doing a great job countering each other, it's fun. This is ultimately what we wanted to get to, being able to share the court together and do it on both ends together.
All right, so the Clippers have turned things around behind some stellar play by Kawhi, who's averaged over 35 while shooting over 70% from the field the last 3 games. Hey now, Kawhi, first player to average 35 points while shooting 70% over a 3-game span in the playoffs since the shot clock era began in the 50s. Max Kellerman, are you no longer concerned about your boy Kawhi and those Clippers?
I've never been concerned about Kawhi. Kawhi, as I keep saying, is one of the greatest postseason performers ever. There are very few who have ever played who are as good under pressure as Kawhi. No, I'm never worried about Kawhi. He's just not a point forward. He's not a point guard. He's a scoring 2 or 3. That's what he does. He'll make everyone around him better. He's an offensive and defensive weapon, and he's twice been the best player on championship teams, 2 different franchises. I've never been worried about Kawhi, Stephen A. I was worried about Ty Lue because I couldn't understand. Adjustments needed to be made, right? And I couldn't understand why Rondo is getting 19, 20 minutes a game. And I thought that was the adjustment Ty Lue was going to make. It wasn't. Rondo got his same 19, 20 minutes. And by the way, he was his same excellent self like Rondo is playoff Rondo, whether you play him for 30 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever. He's excellent. But Ty Lue did make an adjustment. He went small. Batum got the lion's share of the minutes that were going to bigs before. And that made the difference. Luka being hurt, obviously. But Ty Lue's adjustment made the difference. Kawhi is not that kind of player. He's not. You could say, well, LeBron could be like a coach. That's not Kawhi. He's not a point forward. He's not going to run your offense. He's going to do Kawhi, which is basically never miss a shot and play great defense. That's what he does. I'm not worried about him. It's Ty Lue, and he showed something last night.
I was scared because I got love for Ty Lue and his coaching staff because I've known them for years. I was scared, and I love me some Paul George as a person just as much as a player. I was scared to death. Clippers about to get swept. I like, you got to win game, but I knew because I texted Michael Irvin. I saw him sitting in the suite, and I saw him in there, and I said, oh, they're going to lose this game. I said, they're going to lose this game. The minute I saw all them damn Cowboys in there, I said, Dallas ain't winning this game.
What is wrong with you?
I said, I'm not right. Dak Prescott was in attendance. Michael Irvin was in the suite.
His nickname's the Playmaker, right?
I did that. Well, yeah, that's why. I said, you don't show up to Dallas Mavericks. Don't contaminate them people like that. Don't do that. That's what happened. But I will tell you this. Charles Barkley's right. I don't think the Dallas Mavericks are winning another game this series. And I went from being scared that the Clippers were on the verge of getting swept to saying Dallas Mavericks ain't going to win another game this series. Here's why. Kawhi looks sensational over the last 2 games. And he did something that I wanted him to do, which he called on the team to just clamp down, be better defensively, spoke up. That's a good thing, galvanizing the troops. Remember, I've never complained about his numbers, never complained about his ability, is that ability to lead, which LeBron and others have done, which I thought he was sorely lacking. All right, still got something to prove in that regard, but it is what it is. Kristaps Porzingis, I don't want to hear another word about him. He's just not that dude. He's just not that dude. I mean, 7 points last night. 18 points last night, 7 points in game 3, 18 meaningless points last night. You're minus 21 when you're on the court. Luka Doncic has nerve damage in his neck. I don't know how you get over that in the next week. Nerve damage in your neck. And I appreciated Charles.
That hurts me, you just saying it.
I appreciated Shaq giving him props for playing hurt the way that he did. We really should appreciate Luka being out there and really
doing what he could do, whatever he could do.
I mean, you could see it was a struggle for him to lift his head up. It was a struggle for him to lift his head up. He was hurting that bad, but he had no help. And then that brings me to Dallas. And anybody that knows me knows I go back a very long ways with Rick Carlisle, who I got a lot of love for. We've known Mark Cuban for years. We got a lot of love for Mark Cuban. He's a friend of this show. I got to say this about them. If you lose these playoffs, it will be 6 times in the last 10 years since you won the title, since you beat LeBron and D-Wade to Miami, Max, in 2010, 2011. It's been 10 years. This year, if you lose in the first round, it will mark the 6th time you've been bounced out in the first round. And the other 4 times you never even made the playoffs. I mean, damn. We just gonna sit there and just ignore that?
I think
we just gonna gloss over that? Over the last 10 years, 4 no appearances and 6 first round exits. And that's it. At some point in time, we got to sit up there and say, Rick Carlisle, Mark Cuban, what's up with that?
Look.
What's up with that?
Well, I mean, what's up with it now is they have hurt stars. Now, number one, what you say about Porzingis is true. Everything I used to say about Porzingis, injury has meant, and it's injury again this year, has meant he's just not built that way, 7'3". Injury has meant that every year he has to try to get back to where he was the year before, so he never gets any better. In fact, he's backsliding, and he had a bad game. You're right. I thought one day he could win an MVP. No, I don't think that anymore because of his health. But also, Luka, that's the biggest story here to me, is not even this series. When I hear nerve damage, I'm thinking, wait a minute. Is this something this dude's going to have to deal with from now on?
No, I'm not
From
worried
now
about
on?
that. I'm not thinking like that.
I am.
I'm not thinking like that. I'm just thinking about it. It ain't gonna get much better for the rest of the series.
I think they could.
That's much. I think that's safe.
I think
to say.
on heart they could get a game, but they're going to lose a series.
Listen, I want to give Marcus Morris props, not because of last night. What that brother did in Game 3 down the stretch, left corner, not one, not two, but 3 big-time threes. That's what really, really propelled them to that victory in Game 3, because they were still in trouble with Luka giving them over 40. But in the end, Porzingis, man, he's a 7-3 jump shooter, and that's even suspect at times. Just a weak performance on his part.
Question for you.
You expect more. Help out Luka in some capacity.
Yep.
He ain't doing
Question for both of you quickly here. Do you think it was a mistake for the Knicks to get rid of him now? I know you were hard on the Knicks for that.
Given his injury history, I in retrospect, I probably still wouldn't have traded him. I mean, like, it's too knowing what we know now, yes, of course. But it's too tantalizing because I keep hoping as a fan of his originally when I was a Knicks fan and he was on the Knicks. One of these years, he's going to get healthy at the right time and have a run in the playoffs. But it's like you're rolling the dice. You hope the injury takes place early and then doesn't reoccur and he can build some momentum. It never seems to work out that way.
So it sounds like they made the right move.
According to what I was told at the time, he went into their office and essentially blackmailed them. He let them know, I don't want to be here. I want out. If you keep me here, then I'm simply going to let it be known that I don't want to be
You won't
here.
get anything for
and no free agents will want to come here. So under those conditions, they had no choice.
Yeah.
That's what I was told. If it's false, somebody lied. But that was the story.
But what about
And
from a
not just-
basketball perspective?
From a basketball perspective, listen, I don't have a problem with him being gone because I'm looking at him and I'm saying, where are you? I mean, these are weak. Listen, when Luka Doncic is not just a ball player. He's a baller. He gets in your face. You too short. You too slow. You too fat. You can't mess with me. He talks and he backs it up when healthy. And he's got people, or at least one guy that's supposed to be the number 2, that on far too many occasions does not show up to help him.
The issue with Porzingis is you have to commit money to him at that time. And given his health, you can't have that number invested in a league with a cap, even if it's a soft cap. You can't devote that much of your team's financial resources to someone who's not going to be there. And when he is there, is frequently compromised. Now, last year in the playoffs, you see why they did it. Because until he got hurt, he was giving them 35. He was like, oh, my God, Paul George, if you could be a second banana like that, you could win a championship. So it's tantalizing.
Yeah.
But at this point, it just seems like if he ever puts it together, you may have to spend his whole career waiting for him to do it one time, and it's not worth it.
All right. And as far as this series, Stephen A. again says he does not see the Mavericks winning another game.
Barkley deserves credit because Barkley's the one that said he beat me to it because our first take didn't
Shout out
start
to
until
Sir
this
Charles.
morning. But Charles Barkley said it last night, and I said, damn.
You co-signed.
He beat me to it. 'Cause
Okay.
that's exactly what I was going
Who's
to say.
going to
You
stop the
retweeted.
Clippers if they get by the Mavs? Who's going to stop them until the conference
Well,
finals?
I think if they listen, don't they play Utah next?
Yeah.
If Utah gets past Memphis, which I believe they will, is Utah next?
You like Utah over the Clippers?
I think right now, I would have to say that.
I don't.
Yeah, right now, I'd have to say that.
It's going to be a good series.
Utah's a different beast.
That'll be a good matchup. We'll see.
Time will
Utah's a
tell.
different beast.
All right, guys, up next with the... You know what, Max? I really try not to wear my heart on my sleeve, but when I just saw that video with Stephen A. with the fans going nuts, New York stand-up,
Molly.
I feel sad.
Molly,
Like, I
Stephen
feel
A.,
sad for
stop.
him.
We need to stop everything for a second. I just want to point out.
Yeah.
Do you see how a Knicks fan acts when they win a single home playoff game to a lower seed that already took a home court from them in game 1? For the first time in 8 years, they win a single. Look at how a Knicks fan reacts.
Sad.
I think it's funny, but yeah, you
No.
can find it sad.
Yeah, I do. I feel a little sad inside. But Trae Young, he's not sad because the Trae Young show continues, leading the Hawks to a commanding 3-1 lead. 17-point win. Ugh. Game 5's at MSG. Stephen A., does this series even go back to Atlanta?
been a rough, been a rough weekend. Trae Young is special. He's just special. But we going back to the ATL. We going back to the ATL.
Really?
Yeah, we going back. I ain't going out like that. Listen. Okay?
Say it with your chest. Look at you.
Listen.
Is this faith? Are you just trying to your lips to God's ears trying to make things happen?
Listen, I'm not a typical nauseating, disgusting Cowboy fan. You never saw me out there when the Knicks were sticking up the joint, acting like we gonna win the championship the next year, like the Dallas Cowboys do every week. I've never done it. I'm just talking about a game. I'm just talking about game. You gotta take one game at a time. We're not here to talk about the past.
The Cowboys have been in the playoffs.
We're not here to talk about the past. We're not here to talk about the past.
99.
Well, New York Knicks have been in the playoffs since 1999. It's just that they stunk. But the bottom line is this: the point is that we're not here to talk about the past. We're going to move forward. We're going to focus on Wednesday night. Going to take one game at a time. All right? Trae Young is averaging 27.5 points, 10 assists, shooting 47% from the field. He's just been spectacular. And then they got talent around him, and Herter and Collins and Hunter and these boys and Bogdanovich. I mean,
Gallinari off the bench.
Gallinari's balling. They can do what the Knicks can't do. They can make shots. And I'm going to say this. Let me be very, very serious and just take my emotions out of the side and just put on my basketball hat. I'm very, very proud of the Knicks and specifically Julius Randle this year and what he's been able to accomplish. He's the most improved player. He deserved the award. He got my vote for it, etc. He has been horrible in this playoff series. He is shooting 27% from the field. And contrary to what people try to say, one of the things that I don't get credit for, Max, sitting in this seat, is that I don't try to mess with people's money. I want them to get their money.
That's true. By the way, that's true. Stephen A. in front of the camera and behind the scenes does not want to mess with people's money. That's true. You'll even say it like, I don't want to talk about anyone getting fired, coaches and
I don't
stuff
want to
like
mess
that.
with their money. I want you to get paid. A lot of times I wait until a player gets his contract and then I'll sit up there and talk about. Now, obviously, we got to take these into consideration, cap hits and all of this other stuff. But Julius Randle has proven he's not a number one option. You're going left. I don't give a damn if he's got to go right up the hill, around the corner, down the block. He's coming back left, and everybody knows it. And so Nate McMillan, being the great coach that he is, game plans for it. Julius Randle is pushing people off and getting physical just to get off his left-handed shot because him and R.J. Barrett, I know R.J. Barrett's got youth on the side, but damn it, the two of them, they're going left. They're using their left hand. No suspense, no intrigue, no nothing. And against a talented squad like the Atlanta Hawks, you got to do better. And the reason why, even though R.J. Barrett is young, I'm bringing him up because he's shooting 27% from three-point range in the 30s from the field. I'm going to say this to R.J. Barrett and the Julius Randle. Derrick Rose is 32 years of age. He's been through a plethora of injuries. It's miraculous that he's back and balling, averaging 22.8 points per game for the New York Knicks, shooting about 50% from the field and from three-point range. Derrick Rose is your best player. Y'all can't give him more help than that. That's where their limitation lies, Max.
Yeah,
and in closing,
they don't have enough talent.
In closing, I'm gonna say this. You're right. It was never about talent. It was about will over skill because we knew that the skill belonged to the Atlanta Hawks, and I thought the Knicks had enough will to steal one game in Atlanta and come back with home and reclaim home court advantage. But in the end, what it comes down to is you, R.J. Barrett. I'm gonna bring this up, Max. The number 1 overall pick in that draft, Zion. The number 2 overall pick in that draft is Ja Morant. And then there's you. Come on.
Well, Derrick Rose.
You gotta give something a little more than that.
Derrick Rose was a prodigy. None of these dudes were. Derrick Rose was the MVP at 22. The remains of Derrick Rose is going to be better than any of these dudes are ever going to be because he has all-time great, oh my God, did you see that? I'll always remember this player kind of talent. Julius Randle, Stephen A., he can only go left since he got in the league. Everyone knows that. But here's the problem with Randle. I don't even think he's a number 2 scoring option. Not on a championship contender. He's a third option. If you're going to pay a lot of attention to him defensively, there's not a lot he's going to be able to do. He can clean up on the glass. He can hit an open shot from distance. He really did made real strides doing that this year. He was a top 5 MVP candidate regular season. Regular season doesn't count for much. He's a number 3 option on a championship contender. Barrett hopes that one day he could be a number 2. He's far from that right now. The Hawks got shooters everywhere you look. Trae Young is a super, or playing like embracing that superstar Nick antagonist role. But I just want to get back to the original point. Look at this Knicks fan. Believe me, I was one. I know the mind of a Knicks fan. I know the heart of a Knicks fan. You came in and celebrated one single home playoff. You said not like a Cowboys fan. It was exactly like a Cowboys fan. Like you just won the chip.
Not at all.
It was one game.
Not at all. No. The people outside, we were euphoric. We were happy because the New York Knicks had tied the series 1-1, and we were going to Atlanta to try to reclaim home court advantage. Ain't nobody talking about them beating Philadelphia or Brooklyn. We know better than that. Dallas Cowboy fans go 1-15. No, we're going to win the Super Bowl next year, right? No, we're going to win the Super Bowl. We didn't do that. Knicks fans didn't do this. I'll never compare myself to the Cowboy fans. But like I said, we here. It ain't over yet.
I'm proud of you.
It's not
You're here for another game or two.
It's not
Stephen A., I'm proud of you because you said will over scale. You had the will. You got on that plane. You packed your bag.
Exactly. And Julius Randle.
You know,
ATL.
And RJ Barrett did not show up.
And you had a heart filled with hope.
Are you going to be rooting for the Nets? Because this is all going to be over for the Knicks another game or two. You're going to start rooting for the Nets?
Of course I will.
Okay,
once the New York Knicks are gone, I will always root for New York first. Always root for New York first. There's a lot of people rooting against the Brooklyn Nets. I won't root against them. I won't root against them. They're from New York, baby. They're one of the 5 boroughs. They're one of the 5 boroughs. I'm going to give them love. Except for they'll never get more love from me than the Knicks. But I'm going to give them love. But I'm telling you this right now. Here's how you handle this, Tom Thibodeau, okay? Julius Randle's a big boy. You going left any damn way. How about getting those big boys in some foul trouble because you taking it to the rack? How about Tom Thibodeau not calling a play for you where you posting up with your backside of somebody 20 feet away from the basket where you got to turn around, dribble the ball, and you going back left. You literally can wait on Julius Randle's left side. Just wait. You can literally sit back and just go like this, y'all. You can literally just go like this. He's coming this way with his left hand. Just stay there and wait for him. Just wait for him. Now, if you want to contest the 3, you could do that. But you literally can just stand there with your hands in your pocket. If he's going to drive, you literally can wait for him to come to the left. Come to the left. He's coming back left. He's coming left. And RJ Barrett came on First Take, and he said, I got news for you. I'm right-handed. I said, I don't give a damn. You never use it. We don't see your right hand. You're going left too. You got to be more versatile.
That's on offense.
That's what's happening.
What about the defense? You got to run some guys off the 3-point line?
Yes.
I mean, you got to do something.
And by the way, Isaiah Thomas has said this on countless occasions because I believe it's the only way to beat the Brooklyn Nets. Don't double anyone. Make sure. Listen. If they score on you, they score on you. But at least you have someone that's in front. You're in front as a defender. That's all you got to. If you're the New York Knicks, make Atlanta beat you. Even if you switch it, make sure somebody's in front of everybody. No doubling.
Do this. Get a refundable ticket. All right.
No, I'm not going to do that. I'm coming back.
Is all heart, and it shows. So Monty Williams initially planned to sit Paul for Game 4 against the Lakers. A persistent shoulder injury had reduced the point guard to a fraction of himself, and Williams didn't think Paul could help in a crucial game. Well, CP3 changed his coach's mind in an emotional pregame conversation on Sunday. He said, Coach, let me start, and if you don't think I'm looking like I normally do, then you can take me out, and we'll have to go in a different direction. Williams said, this is one of those situations that I had to trust the player. Well, he responded, 18 points. Chris?
There was a lot of conversation before the game after I talked to Coach. Said, give me a minute. Went and called my brother and my team, sort of talked about it. And it's like, look, man, I went and talked to Book, talked to Jay, and I told him, I said, I don't know how long it's going to be, but I told them, I said, if y'all feel like I'm out here looking like some trash, just tell me and I get out. I get out. So I at least had to, like I said, see what I could do.
Max, what's at stake for CP3 in this series?
His legacy. Obviously it's set as a great player. No one ever questioned Chris Paul's heart or his basketball IQ or his greatness. But there are levels to that greatness. You know, he's been to one conference finals, one in his career, and it was not on a Chris Paul team. That was on a James Harden, Mike D'Antoni, Daryl Morey team. And he didn't play in Game 7. I still think had he, they would have won. They would have won the championship that year, but it didn't happen. So what we have in Chris Paul is that, and that was the only time he's been to a conference final. Otherwise, he gets knocked out early, in spite of the fact that every year he's on a tremendous team. And partly it's because he's on it. But there are levels. Eventually, you got to lead a team on a deep playoff run to the conference finals, to the finals. And he has a chance this year. Chris Paul has a chance. Stephen A., he ain't the tallest dude in the world, and the basket's 10 feet in the air. I get all that. But he's got a shot. Because if he beats the Lakers, just like you say, like who's gonna stop Denver or Portland? Who's gonna stop Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, Devin Booker, and these dudes? He has a shot right now to do something on a Chris Paul team. Devin Booker's great, but Chris Paul's leading the team. He has a chance to elevate his stature among the all-time greats. If he doesn't take advantage of this opportunity because he's hurting, but so is AD, and he gets knocked out early again, that doesn't help. That hurts. It just is what it is. I don't make the rules, Stephen A., but I must enforce them. You got to apply the same standards to Chris Paul that get applied to Steph Curry and James Harden, even though he's a little bigger, and all the other great point guards. John Stockton, multiple finals trips. Isaiah Thomas, multiple championships. Chris Paul's on that level, right? Right? He's been on a lot of great teams. He has a chance here. He's got to knock them out.
I don't have the time to give you a history lesson on basketball. I'm not going to go there. I'm just going to give you my preference, and I'm going to leave it at that because I want to make sure everybody understands where I'm coming from when I say this. It's about your job description first, and then that determines a lot about what your legacy is. Your job description, what you've proven you can do, and where that ultimately is supposed to lead you. When we think about small guards, for example, Allen Iverson was a shooting guard. Allen Iverson would jack up 25 to 30 shots a game. Allen Iverson was going to do what Allen Iverson was going to do, and Larry Brown, Billy King, Pat Croce, and the crew surrounded him with defensive-minded players who all knew their role. Steph Curry graduate to this time. Steph Curry is the greatest shooter God ever created. He's that elite of a shooter. And this is what you do. So you see everybody, even if they're open, they still give up the ball to Steph Curry because you know that's what his job description is. You take that into consideration. You judge that differently than a quintessential, prototypical point guard whose job it is to run the show. If Chris Paul is to be indicted, here's where you indict him. When they lost to Houston years ago after having that 3-1 lead against James Harden, Dwight Howard, and the Houston Rockets, and Lob City lost that series. That is the greatest indictment.
But the Warriors series.
Hold on. No. That was different because when they played against Houston, they were a win away from advancing to the conference finals for the first time in franchise history. Nobody was injured. No issues. It was an epic collapse. And oh, by the way, that game six when they collapsed, that was with James Harden on the bench and Dwight Howard and those boys and going and just running them out of the building. That's an indictment. When you look at this, and you see that CP3 had yet the latest injury. You're going to lose to LeBron James, Anthony Davis.
Well, but AD's hurt.
I understand that. I'm assuming that's what's. I'm assuming he's going to.
But I would agree with you if AD's 100%. But now that there's some daylight, Chris Paul's got to take advantage.
He's got to take advantage. That's why I got them to win the series. But what I'm saying to you is that if Chris Paul, for some reason, is hurt, what's going to be said is the same thing. Once again, he's hurt. Because there's no one that doesn't want to play on the court with Chris Paul. Mm-hmm. What happens is that they go like this. Is this dude going to last come playoff time? Is he going to get hurt again?
Yeah. It's messed up, but it's true.
That's what it is.
But Stephen A., Gary Payton, Jason Kidd, stop me when you get to those guys. Well, Jason Kidd was on Dirk's team, but Gary Payton led team a team to the finals. John Stockton.
Gary Payton was 6'4" and could defend anybody. He was the glove.
Yes, height counts. It's a sport that selects out for height. If you're a shorter guard, it makes it harder. But when you look at this era, Steph, Kyrie, these guys spent time late in the playoffs, deep in the playoffs.
A very simplistic point of view where Max and I disagree, Molly. Spud Webb won a slam dunk contest.
Yeah.
Nate Robinson won a slam dunk contest. Yeah. Okay? When other people won slam dunk contests, we marveled over the particular dunk that they made that was better than somebody else's. With Spud Webb and Nate Robinson, we marveled at their miniature size and what they were able to do.
But Chris Paul don't want your sympathy. He doesn't want you grading on a curve.
We're not talking about what Chris Paul wants. We're talking about what my opinion is right now, or compared to yours. What I'm saying is that when you look at CP3, when you look at guys who are miniature and limited athletically, you do get to a point where now you judge them differently. In other words, what are you as a floor general? What are you as a leader? What are you as somebody that makes people better around you? That's how we judge it.
But when we talk about the best players,
where somebody else, we have expectations because their ability to take over a game single-handedly is there.
About when guys choke in the clutch, and over the last 2 seasons, CP3 is second best in points in the clutch, behind only the Joker. That includes the playoffs.
He's a clutch player. So is Damian Lillard. Neither one of them has spent a lot of time deep in the playoffs. And the bottom line is, if you're short in basketball, it counts against you. Just like if you're tall, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Shaq wouldn't have been what they were if they were 6 feet. They were 7 feet. That's part of it, man. Like, what are we going to ignore that? He's small. It hurts his status among the greatest point guards of all time if he can't lead teams when he has a shot. He has a shot right now. Past series like this, you got to do it.
I think he might. Coming up next, should we be impressed with
21 redemption for the Bucks. They sweep Miami.
As I say, don't play with your food. We didn't want to play with our food.
You feel you are now playing the best that you guys have played this year?
Personally, I don't feel nothing. We've got to get better.
Take the blinders out. You're gonna see us coming. You either with us or against us. Here we come running.
Beating the team that beat us last year feels good, but at the end of the day, we got a long way to go.
That's a big old sweep for Giannis and the Bucks, sending Jimmy Butler and the Heat to an early vacation after a 17-point defeat on Miami's home floor. The disrespect. Jimmy Butler shot 29% from the field. No bueno, and not typical of a guy called Jimmy Buckets. Max, are you more impressed with Giannis or disappointed with Butler?
I'm more impressed with Giannis.
Okay.
And it's not just that he put up 23.5 points, 15 boards, and 8 assists through the series. Mm-hmm. Think about that for a second. It's that they got the break speed off him last year and the year before when they were favored. And they faced their tormentors again. And I thought it was going to be a long, drawn-out series, and some people were picking them to get upset again. And they swept. It was not competitive. And Giannis, by the way, he didn't score 35 points a game. The scoring was more distributed. This is why Budenholzer, earlier in the season, when they were off to kind of a slow start, they didn't look like world beaters because they wanted to be ready for this moment. And yeah, Giannis is ready for it. Giannis is dominating the boards. Giannis is hooking up teammates. He's scoring when he has to. But more than all that, it's coming back the very next season against the team that just ended your season. After having your season ended, it felt prematurely twice in a row. And sweeping them, beating them like that is what impresses me about Giannis right now.
I'm more disappointed in Jimmy Butler. You got some trees up in there with Giannis and Lopez. And the fact that you had Drew Holiday and P.J. Tucker, obviously it buffers your defense incredibly so. And we understand that the Milwaukee Bucks are legit, and this is a team to be reckoned with, and the Brooklyn Nets are going to have their hands full once they finish up this series against Boston. But Jimmy Butler averaged 14.5 points on worse than 30% shooting. You signed a max deal, 4 years, $141 million. Did you know he's eligible for an extension? 4 years, $181 million. Guaranteed $36 million next year. You do understand that approaching age 33, if he's not that already, I know he's approaching it. You do understand that that's around the time Miami started giving Dwayne Wade issues. I love me some Jimmy Butler. I wish Philadelphia had kept him. I think they'd have had a shot to win the title last year if Jimmy Butler was in Philly instead of Miami. Let me also be clear about this. Jimmy Butler is no Dwayne Wade. Not what Dwayne Wade was to the Miami Heat. And if they could do something like that to Dwayne Wade where they have trepidation and apprehension, what the hell you think they're thinking about Jimmy Butler now? We can get swept by anybody. We can be swept and don't have to give up this much money. You know all of this. And you don't get beat. You get annihilated. The series, games 2, 3, and 4. Did y'all see what the Milwaukee Bucks did to the Miami Heat? Mm-hmm. They destroyed them. And when you look at Butler is a guy that can have breakout performances, and we loved how he performed in the NBA Finals. I believe in the brother, but there's levels to this. When you talk about he's a star, yeah, he could be a star. You talk about superstar, no, that's not him. That's not him. He fits in, got a nice shot, stout defender, strong, got the heart of a lion, ain't scared. He could be in anybody's locker room as far as I'm concerned because I got that amount of love for him. I think that's what he brings to the table. But at the same breath, your production does matter. And 14.5 points ain't cutting it. You ain't just fitting in. You basically the face of the franchise. And if you are the face of the franchise, you got to step up and show. This is, to me, what the face of a franchise should do. Not them themselves saying it. They should play in such a way, Max, where we go like this. It ain't their fault. We should be able to look at they got nothing to do with this. Like we look at Tatum against Brooklyn. It ain't his fault.
Jimmy Butler got to where he is because his reach exceeds his grasp. He does not have the talent of a guy like Jason Tatum.
Right.
It's always, so you're right, when the athletic ability starts to come back a little bit as he gets older, he touched above star status, almost superstar status, based on his reach exceeding his grasp, but it did exceed it. And if he starts to fall back, obviously it's not good for his pockets. But Stephen A., what could he do in this series? Well, you got Bryn Forbes coming off the bench and not missing any shots. You got Middleton balling, Holiday balling. The attention you have to pay to the Greek Freak, who was great in every
I'm not blaming him for them
department.
losing. I'm not blaming him for them losing. I'm saying that while you're losing, everyone's looking at you and like, where is he? That can never be said. We have to be able to look at you and go like this. He was like we did in the finals. We knew they were going to lose to the Lakers, but then we stood up and applauded what Jimmy gave us.
Yeah.
That's not what happened.
We're out of time. This year, we're applauding Giannis. All right, with the Brooklyn Nets as the alpha dogs in the East, who's the biggest threat to take down the big three, the favorites to win it all? Stick around. A number of fan incidents with players this postseason. On Wednesday, a Sixers fan poured popcorn on Russell Westbrook on his way to the locker room after the star injured his ankle. That fan banned indefinitely from the Wells Fargo Center and lost his season tickets. That same day at Madison Square Garden, a fan spit on Trae Young when he was inbounding the ball in the fourth quarter. That fan was also banned from MSG indefinitely. Last night, a Celtics fan was escorted out of the arena by Boston police and arrested after allegedly throwing a water bottle at Kyrie Irving as he was leaving the floor following the Nets win. And check out this tweet. Also, Malika Andrews just put out there, they have identified that gentleman. You can check it out right there. Cole Buckley, who is 21, and that's the first time we've had them publicly identified. We also saw him on camera as well, something we debated earlier, whether that's a good idea or not. Let's also not forget the incident last week with John Morant's family in Utah, where the Jazz banned 3 fans for vulgar and racist comments made to Morant's family. Stephen A., how does the NBA handle these situations moving forward?
I just think to be as forceful as they possibly can to make sure that they send the message that we're doing all we can as a professional sports league. We're banning them from the arena. We're banning them from the arena for life. We arrested them on the spot. And I think that when you have the heavy hand of these multi-billion-dollar establishments that, they put their heavy hand down, that can incite, local enforcement officials to do the same. I mean, the law, obviously I'm really, really big on pushing legislation. Anytime they're talking about progressing forward and moving forward and making sure that the kind of things that need to be done are done, I'm talking about you do it by changing laws. You do it by addressing the laws. And the laws are on the books. If this guy's been charged with assault, well, what comes with that? You know what? And if 6 months in jail or something like that comes with it, then make sure that person gets it. And make sure we know that they get it. Publicize that. Because when you do stuff like that, it's a deterrent. When you show people or you give the impression that there are no ramifications for your unlawful behavior, we ain't talking about people having opinions or just cursing at you or whatever. When you engage in unlawful behavior that could potentially cause physical harm to another human being, you should be treated like a criminal. Period. And as long as you do that, I think that will send a strong message that will reverberate throughout the sports world. And I think that you'll see these things kept at a minimum.
I co-sign. I mean, the thing I think fans and we in the media have to get very clear is what the NBA can do and what they can't do. NBA can't lock you up. NBA is not the law of the land. NBA has their own rules, and they should enforce rules and come down hard on people who break the rules. I agree with that. I think they have. You could say, well, it should be a lifetime ban instead of an indefinite ban. Okay, but really that's the same thing. Because a lifetime ban can always be lifted, and an indefinite ban can go on forever. We're talking about popcorn. You're indefinitely banned. You're not coming back, right? Spitting, obviously. And if they change that to a lifetime ban, Stephen A., I'd be fine with that. I think they're more or less interchangeable. Spitting, obviously. Throwing a water bottle, goodbye. I don't care if Kyrie rubbed his foot on the logo, big deal, get over it. I love what KD had to say about it. Have some self-respect. It's showing the world this is the way you got raised. That's a reflection on your whoever raised you, right? Like, I like the fact that KD said that, but they're not a legal entity. Like, they don't enforce laws, the NBA. And the next step, Stephen A., as you said, is prosecute them. If Trae Young doesn't want to press charges, there's not a lot that's going to happen. But one of these dudes should press charges. And whether it's Kyrie or Westbrook, whoever, press charges. And maybe that will send a stronger message. Stephen A., you're a tremendous boxing fan. Do you remember in the 80s, and this was in England, Marvin Hagler, Alan Minter, and when Hagler won the title, middleweight championship, there was a whole big, Minter was British and white, Hagler was American and black, and there was racial undertones. And after Hagler won the title, they were throwing bottles and stuff into the ring. Hagler had to duck out of there.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not
with
saying
his family in attendance.
With his family. See, I knew you'd. And this is not. I'm not saying like that's why boxing got marginalized. But that kind of behavior really cannot be. Not in American sports leagues like the NBA or NFL or Major League Baseball. You have to get this kind of thing out of control. Now, one plastic bottle, some popcorn is a far cry from that. But it's got to be nipped in the bud.
Well, he was charged with assault and battery.
That's right, because Ron Artest, now Meta Stanford,
World
Peace, Malice in the Palace, right? Because at a certain point, then the players have a point. Hold up. This is happening to me. I'm going to come and get you.
So this begs the question to me, though, Stephen A., and we talked about the TNT discussion earlier the guys had last night, and they said it's always been this way. We're talking about 4 incidents, very serious incidents, right? Laws getting involved, but 17,000 fans are in arenas. So is this disproportionate, what we're saying here?
I don't know whether it's
drawing attention to it, and has it gotten worse?
Well, listen, that's a great question, because here's the deal. It's not so much that it's gotten worse.
Okay.
It's that the players today ain't having it anymore. It's a different climate. It's different times. And oh, by the way, let's not just put it on the players. Blacks in corporate America ain't having it anymore. Yep. People just standing up there like, hell with it, hell with the money, hell with the prestige, hell with everything. We ain't having it. You're not going to sit up there and do stuff like that to us just because you think you're insulated, which is why I pointed out. I made the point to highlight how there were white people and black people in attendance at TD Bank Garden that pointed out that kid. They all pointed him out. He's the one that did that. It's incredibly important because you have to distance and disassociate yourself from such actions. I remember years ago, Max, I was in Philadelphia, right? You bring up your examples, I bring up mine. So I'm covering stuff for the Philadelphia Inquirer and stuff like that. And, you know, people sometimes didn't like what I had to write, nothing new there. You know, that's how it goes. But make no mistake about it, I'm not just a black man, I'm a brother. And so when you roll up on me, you know, I understand sometimes what might have to go down. So this is the years with Matt Geiger and them playing with the Sixers. And it was like 5 white dudes that saw me get out of my car in the media parking lot, approached me, and clearly they were about to do me physical harm. And the next thing I know, they started backing up and said, man, we out. And I had no idea because I was in a world of trouble because I was by myself. And I turned around and about 6 black dudes that I had never met in my life were standing behind me. Stephen A., there a problem? Suddenly there was no problem. But in the same breath, one time I was in Boston and a similar incident occurred. And you know what happened? About 3 white dudes were behind me. Stephen A., there's a problem. So there's hope that everybody, you know, you don't have to be just black to have a problem with them. You don't have to be just white to act like that. You can sit up there and you can come together. There's hope.
Yeah.
But you have to be lockstep in knowing what right and wrong is and enforcing the right things and decrying and denigrating and highlighting the wrong so you can prevent it from happening.
That's a good point. I mean, we would hope if anyone of any race or background saw, for example, some kind of belligerence toward Asian Americans right now, that anyone from any background would step in and say,
That's right.
Right? Okay. But I want to address something you said about player empowerment, because to answer Molly's question, this is a debate show, but we're not debating this subject, right? That is exactly right. The players aren't having it anymore. That reflects player empowerment. And to an extent, player empowerment probably reflects racial empowerment. But player empowerment means no longer do players need to behave as though, or feel that there's pressure to behave as though we hit the lottery. You know, like, oh, they should be so grateful they're in this position, as though they got lucky. They worked a whole lifetime to get to where they are. They didn't scratch a lottery ticket. This is not luck. They worked for that. They earned that. They don't have to be so thankful to be there. They feel entitled, and they should feel entitled. If you work really, really hard for something, you're one of the best in the world. You are entitled to that position by virtue of your work. And so no longer is it are players kind of accepting as much we're just commodities. They're saying no, you're going to respect our humanity. And that is absolutely right. It is tied to player empowerment.
And to be clear, we're saying the incidents haven't gotten worse. It's just that the players are no longer standing for it.
They're not having it anymore. And it's not just because of the money that they're making. It's because of the communities that they come from. And they see what happens. And they see that, the efforts that have been taken to sort of minimize things and assuage the concerns of minority communities and others. They see that no matter how much we swear that things have changed, it really hasn't. And so when you've accumulated a level of richness or wealth per se, where you don't have to worry about feeding your families, and we live in a different age where you're able to point to the fact that this change that y'all swore was supposed to take place still hasn't, they're like, damn that. Because you got a lot of people that are resentful of these dudes just because they're in the position and these folks are not, and they think they can act any old kind of way. And the brothers ain't having that. Russell Westbrook in Utah last year was trying to make that point. You wouldn't say that stuff if you were in my face. You in front of the stands, you away from me, you got people between us. You wouldn't do half the BS that you do. So they tired of it. And I don't blame them.
And no one in any capacity should have to go to work and be a victim of assault or battery.
Of course not.
In any environment.
That's right.
So good for them. They should be valuing themselves. And just because they make millions of dollars, it's not okay.
And even if
it has nothing to do with it.
The point is, even if they're an MMA fighter, Stephen A., and Russell Westbrook's wrong, like they'd win that, right? You still don't do that to somebody. Right. That's what I mean. There's number one, that the fans feel safe. in situations where they wouldn't behave that way. And secondly, even if that wasn't the case, Kevin Durant's point is you don't behave that way.
You're absolutely right. But there's also the important point to point out in the minds of these players, because they say it oftentimes. 99% of the people that come at them like that, these players will whip their ass.
World-class athletes.
You know, you wouldn't.
Obviously, yeah.
It's not like it's somebody that's coming at them that can give them some kind of a challenge like that. No, it's usually the biggest punks in the world. You understand? That know they're insulated and protected.
Security.
That come at them on a personal level
like
like that.
internet trolls. They know they're not face to face with them. So that's why good job on the crowd for kind of outing these folks, and continue to do so and separate yourself from that.
That's right.
Right.
All right.
Feel safe.
We'll leave